Hey guys, my name is JT, and normally I would make you better at chess, but in today's video, I'm going to tell you why my name is JT and why I am called Japanese tutor. So, this all starts when I started chess in high school, and I started with one of my teachers. His coach, his name was my coach's name was Mr. Hudson, and great great chess player, great chess teacher and coach and motivator. He gave me my first book on chess, which was The King's Gambit. I'll never forget it. I used to play The King's Gambit almost exclusively when I started playing chess. With him, we were able to go to high school nationals. I was able to get good enough to, first play in the unrated section, and I got ninth there, which was nice. Since I started chess that year, and then I got 16th in the under 1600 section the next year, being only a 1300, and I think I did well in those games. I think in about 2 years I was able to make it to about 1700, where my coach's rating was 1800, which was pretty awesome. So was able to beat him once or twice before he ended up leaving the school. So that's where it starts. Okay. And this story takes a kind of a dark turn. So if you don't want to hear that and just want to be here for the chess, then I guess I'll see you in the next video. But after that, I was kicked out of my place, of my parents' place. I was about 17 at the time, and it was pretty rough for me. I had to really dig deep, and chess was the only thing that I knew. After being on the streets and just being kicked out, that experience of being kicked out and not wanted was really tough for me. So I was going around. I went to different parks, different places. I ended up, you know, after, you know, sorry, it's pretty hard to talk about it still, even though it happened about, what was it, like 13 years ago, but it's still hard to talk about it. Um, I ended up going to this deli that was in Brooklyn. I was living in Manhattan at the time. Ended up in Brooklyn, and I found this deli. And in the back of the deli, I think I had about $1 to my name. Um, I went to the back of the deli and I saw them playing chess. Well, cool. The reason I went to the deli was to get 25-cent chips. And this is back when potato chips were 25 cents. I don't know if you guys know this. If you're from New York City, maybe you know this. The nacho twisters, the 25-cent bag. Vividly remember that. And so I saw them playing chess, and I saw them playing chess in the back. Um, so I was just looking around and looking at their game and just looking. I didn't say anything. I just was appreciating that I was able to see chess. I was still really sad about my situation, but trying to figure things out as a very emotional, scared, and alone 17-year-old was pretty tough, as you can imagine. Um, so I saw them playing chess, and then I came back the next day, and I was like, well, they had chess there yesterday, maybe they'll have it there today. I had 75 cents in my pocket. And I bought one of those 50-cent juices and then the nacho twisters. So that was my fund. I couldn't eat anymore. I was at $0.00. Um, and they said to me, hey, do you want to play? And I said, sure, I would love to play. This is on the verge of me like ending. Like I thought I was done for. Like, maybe I could survive. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was gonna do to survive, honestly. Um, and I was playing with them, and we'll call the guy T. T said, "Hey, I got 20 on the kid." Now, he didn't know my situation. I was just some kid that wanted to play chess. And I was like 20. Well, I was like, don't do that. You don't know if I'm good or not. Like I never want to lose anybody's money. I never did that. Like tournaments for me were only scholastic. And anyways, he bet 20 on me. And and then the other guy was like, he's just a kid. There's no way he can beat me. And he obviously bet the 20 back. And so I won. And I think my opponent's rating was like, maybe his strength was about 800, 700. So I won and he gave me the full $20. And I couldn't believe myself. Like, what? I can earn money playing chess. Um, so after that, I found my way to my grandma's house, which she also lives in Brooklyn. She accepted me, and I made it a staple to go to this place. I got good enough where they didn't want to play me anymore, and they would only play me for 25 cents a game, 50 cents a game. And this is how I kind of made my living with chess. And now I know it sounds really bad, but yeah, I had to play 25 cents games, and these were no clock games. Like I would play like 15-minute, 20-minute games for 25 cents. And this is how I made my living. And like chess is the one thing that kept me away from gangs. Chess is the one thing that kept me away from, the other dark things. I probably had to do things that I would have regretted, or I probably would have ended up in jail because I just didn't have another way. And chess gave me the ability and the skill to not have to do that. And honestly, to if I didn't have it, I honestly think that I would have ended up dead. Anyways, um, I keep playing, and I remember that when because I didn't really go back to school at that point or anything. I didn't really do anything. I was just absent for that whole time because I just had to figure out my life. And I went back and I remember, I had chess in the schools. Now, chess in the schools is a wonderful program, and I was part of their college bound program. I had, I honestly at that point I had no intention of going to college, and I really was just like, whatever. This is just more chess for me. I didn't really. I was a knucklehead. I didn't really have like my head on straight, and I never really thought about the future. And how could I, right? Like I was 17, I was kicked out. There was no future for me. So they introduced me with a mentor, and they brought me together with a mentor. And we'll call her A. So Miss A, she mentored me, and she was probably the second mom that I never had. She really, really cared for me. She wanted me to prosper. She wanted me to do my homework. She wanted me to excel. She brought out that smart person in me who was lazy but knew that I could do the work. Right when I didn't do my homework, she would get annoyed at me, which is something I never had. I was, I I never felt well. I'm not gonna say I never felt love, because love is, you can express love in different ways, but it was definitely the love that I needed at that time. Um, so Miss A really brought out that person in me. With her, you know, we applied to colleges with her. She got me in with her. She got me just like the not the I wasn't able to apply on time, but I got in after. So yeah, and she literally changed my life, right? Literally, I was able to go to college because of Miss A, and we still keep in touch to this day. I absolutely love her. She is an all star. And I would have never met her because of chess. So I went to school and I went for my first semester. School was pretty easy. She was helping me with schoolwork. Well, just keeping me on track, not so much the schoolwork itself, but saying, "Hey, are you doing it? What assignments do you have? Let's do it together. If you need help, I'm here. Let's proofread your stuff." You know, um, I was able to get good grades, but I had to take an English class. Everybody has to take an English class. It wasn't a remedial thing. It was just something that the school said you needed to take. It was one of your core classes. And I remember there was this Filipino woman that she worked on a Japanese farm. Although I don't remember her name, it's unfortunate. But she's like, "Oh yeah, I worked on a Japanese farm and I know Japanese." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Um, can you teach me some Japanese?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So she taught me like 5 words, and I was like, "Wow, this is pretty hard and interesting." So cool. I thought about it, and then I saw that they offered Japanese, and they offered it the summer session. So I was like, you know what? I can take the class in the summer session. So I studied. I took Japanese 101 in the summer session, and I was overweight at that time. So since I had no friends, I had nobody to hang out with. I studied Japanese 8 hours a day, and I went to the gym. I studied Japanese 8 hours a day, went to the gym. That was my life for the summer session. I ended up cutting about 50 pounds in that summer. You know, fall came. I did the same thing. I took Japanese 102, other classes. I studied for 3 hours a day. And then I went to the gym, studied 3 hours a day, went to the gym, studied 3 hours a day, went to the gym. There were other classes that I had to take. I just did the work very quickly. I was really focusing on Japanese because I fell in love with Japanese. I don't know why, but I think it happened because I had to actually compete. I think I made it a game, and that's what made it fun. So first of all, I made the class a game because what my teacher said that he would do is that he would curve the grades. So basically, take the class average, and then he would give you a grade based off of that. Now, my studying skills were good, but a lot of my classmates, they were Korean. And if you guys know anything about Japanese and Korean, the grammar is basically exactly the same. So they had an upper hand. Then we had Chinese students, and they knew kanji, or they knew the Chinese characters. And I was like, okay, like I started off with an unfair advantage. And, oh, sorry, they started off with an unfair advantage, not me, they. And I was like, on my first test, I got a 76. And everybody else got 90s and 95s. And I think I had like a C minus or something on that first test. And I was destroyed. And I was like, this is not happening again. There's no way that they're better than me. There's no way that their work ethic is better than mine. I study chess for so many hours a day. I can just transition. So I transitioned to Japanese and I got 100 on every test. I became really, really good and really dedicated. And then I was able to get an A in that class, even though I think a B was like 92 or something, 93. So you literally had to get a 98 and above to get an A. Um, so um, I kept that studying going for 102. And then by 102, I studied it so much that I didn't have to study again for 103 and I didn't have to study again for 104, but I went to the classes. I went to 103, they didn't offer 104 at that time. Um, by the time that I took 103, and I always went to the language lab to try to, get my Japanese better. This is where I also learned shiritori. Um, because of one of the tutors introduced me to the game, and I wanted to become the best. I had to learn every word, right? I had to learn, no matter how weird the word, I would try to use it for shiritori. And this began my passion for shiritori. So if you guys know my video, I was on TV in Japan doing shiritori, which is a vocabulary game in Japanese, beating Japanese people, right? Like, I just loved it. It doesn't matter how weird the word was. Like I can say like tsutsura or something like that, and everybody would be amazed. And I like, no. come on, hurry up, let's do another one. I challenged myself. I tried to do Yojijuku go Shiritori, which means like four character compounds. I made it so hard on myself to study and to get better and to get better at Japanese, um, that within 2 years I was able to get to pretty decent fluency. Now, about a year and a half in, one of the tutors recommended, like, hey, your Japanese is good enough. Why don't you apply to be a Japanese tutor? And I was like, okay, sure, why not? I needed a job. My school at the time was getting paid for because I had no income. And so the Pell Grant and the I think it was FAFSA was paying for it, and then they all the excess money was coming into my pocket. So I was able to get some pocket money to spend, but I never had any expenses because I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna spend anything. I remember those 25-cent days. I remember those 50-cent days. I'm not going back there, right? So what ended up happening was I I you know, I applied for the position. I applied for the position, and the the interviewer was my professor of Japanese, and he's like, "You're applying," and then we did the interview in Japanese, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it," and so I passed, and I became a Japanese tutor. So now the reason why my name is Japanese tutor, I taught Japanese at that college, and they were all weebs. Well, the majority of them were weebs. I'm sorry, it's not a bad thing, but they were just weebs. Uh, and they just love anime and games and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh, do you play games?" And I was like, "I don't really play games. Like, I don't have a system. I didn't have anything." And they're like, "Okay, okay." But then, you know, I was able to get a PS3, and so I made an online name. It was called Japanese 101 Tutor, and that became my screen name. Japanese 101 Tutor became my screen name, and I was playing with them, and it was a lot of fun. And over the time, like I dropped 101, and I became Japanese tutor. Now, fast forward maybe about 6 months, I was playing chess at a company's like a building's lobby. It was like an atrium that anybody could use, and there were a lot of people from different walks of life there. And I was able to play a hiring manager at a Wall Street firm, and I was able to get employed at the ripe age of 20. So, I was able to go from not having any money to having some pocket money because of the fast food to making more money than I knew what to do with. And then I saved the money, and I was like, well, I'm, like I wasn't happy working there because it was long hours, 14-hour days and stuff like that. But I went to go live in Japan. So I lived in Japan for about a year. Um, if you have any questions on that, you can comment down below because I know some of you are gonna be like, "What about the visa?" Right, we'll talk about it, or you can probably guess. Um, so I stayed there for about a year, and then I was there, and I was living a very easy life, very extremely easy life, since I had money saved and stuff like that. But I said to myself, what am I doing here? What do I actually want to do with my life? And then the one thing that popped out to me was like, I just remember when I was broke, when I had nothing, when I was on the streets, playing chess for 50 cents a game. But it wasn't the chess part of it. It was more that chess was always something that helped me out in my life, no matter what. Even in, my critical decision making, my my thought process, it always just helped. And I came back to the States to teach chess. And this is why the Japanese tutor teaches chess. And I've been back here for 6 years, 7 years. Um, and I've taught over a few thousand kids how to play chess. It makes me extremely happy. I'm extremely proud that I was able to affect so many students and give them the joy that I had, when learning. And it's it's just it's an amazing feeling. It's just to be able to give back. And yeah, and this is why I'm so passionate about teaching chess, because I do believe that no matter what strength you are, why you're learning chess, it can always benefit you just knowing the game. So that's my story. That's why my name is Japanese Tutor, and that is why I teach chess. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions, comment down below. Um, Thank you for just being here till the end. Honestly, I know it's a longer video, but yeah, thank you. Take care.